Hey there. This video goes out to women who need to move on. Do you know any women like that who are in these marriages that they're just not thriving in and nobody's thriving and they won't leave? Do you know anybody like that? Are you one of those people? I want to talk to you about this syndrome. Basically, what happens for a lot of women who are very loving, very kind, they have a self-concept. I am a good woman. I am such a loving woman. I would never cheat on my husband. I would never break up my family. I value family, right? So the thing is, though, that's all well and beautiful, except for when the marriage has died. the the life lesson you came to learn together has been completed. And you're hanging in for a self-concept which is now walking in front of the truth. Truth needs to come before our egos and our self-concepts, really, truth. But when our self-concept seems like it will crumble, everything we ever thought about ourselves will be destroyed by letting it go, letting the relationship go, then truth is not being honored. You know, relationship, it's funny, like there's this idea till death do us part, as if that's a choice, as if you can, just fight for a relationship no matter what, and if you fight and go to therapy, it'll work out in the end because love is hard work. But the trouble is that's not exactly true, because what happens is over time people grow, and they may grow in different directions, and they may discover a different soul purpose than they thought they had when they first met. So then this idea, if I let this go, I'm not loving, I'm not a good woman, I'm not who I thought I was, I'm breaking up my family, all of that becomes this big hype, which is just noise compared to the obvious fact that your soul missions are no longer side by side. They're not coinciding, they're diverging. And the thing is, there's no blame in that. Then there's marriages that have died because of neglect and because of abusiveness, and there is working on them through therapy. That's a possibility. But when you really look at couples that are in love no matter what, you can see that they basically share a life mission, a soul purpose, as healers or as political leaders or as teachers or as artists. They as spiritual coaches, because they share some very deep core mission, their superficial changes can be handled because they're so in love with each other's essence. That's a more long-term relationship. That kind of relationship with a soul mission together, soul purpose in alignment. That's very, very strong long-term relationship. But relationships that lose that thread or never had it, it's not a sin. It's not a sin to just say, this marriage died. Some marriages never die. That essence connection of being that core essence, so in love, no matter the changes, they roll through all the pain and the suffering and the sickness and the, challenges and financial difficulties, because the essence of love is so true. Truth walking before ideology or self-concept. That's when it's reversed, right? But mainly, I just see women attached to this sort of sentimental romantic story from the past. and men too, and they're not seeing the present, and they're seeing, they're thinking it all in terms of fault and failure, and also a desperate sort of need to not be alone, and what will happen, will I ever find anybody again. you know you may not, but whether you do or don't, to be in a lifeless marriage, it's basically, it's squandering the life that you have left, because whoever we're with, we either give each other energy for our soul mission, or we detract, or we make it impossible, or we endanger each other when we're no longer of benefit to each other. I mean, another way to look at coming to Earth is that it's not just to have this storybook family, but that you come to learn and to grow in soul lessons. And those are what you take with you when you die, because the spiritual connection with the other human being, actually, that is going to be there when you die. That probably goes back millennia in terms of past lives, of different roles you've played together. You're not really going to lose them in terms of the deeper soul story if you divorce. You may lose them in this life, but there'll be other chances if you have reasons to come together. And then there's the twin flame thing, where maybe you're really so deeply connected, it's as if you're one, and that's a very profound feeling. But even with a twin flame can have a different need in this lifetime than you. So if you can just give yourself a break and assume that, relationships die. They can die. And do you really, how do you do mouth to mouth with a cadaver? How do you flog the dead horse? Wake up, come on. No, it's not supposed to be this way. Relationships do die. And I just see it all over the place, where women have this thing about, I'm a good woman, so I would never leave, and I can't leave. And they meet another man, or the love of their life, somebody who makes them feel wonderful and shares all their interests and will help them, live well. And they're suddenly like, oh, but I'm not divorced yet, and I would never divorce because I'm not that kind of woman. And they go back to this numbness, this zombie relationship that they are keeping going, which is not serving the other person either. Because when your energy moves on and you have this passionate feeling with other people, that's because those are your cravings. That's actually what you need. those passionate, or maybe you have an affair and you hate yourself, but that affair was full of everything you've been missing for the last 10 years. I mean, I stayed in a relationship for many years that was over, and one of the signs that a relationship has moved on is that you can't be intimate together anymore. The sexuality is gone, or some relationships are held together just by the sex, and you can't share your soul anymore. There's no conversation you can have that's relevant to where you're really at, So one of the others will be true, and it's a sign, this is not inclusive of who I really am now, all of who I am. But if it's the intimacy thing, it's particularly obvious because you're almost repelled physically. Like there's nothing bringing you to union because you don't have union. It's more confusing when you do have the chemistry, but chemistry, remember, it's strong when people are in their prime and beautiful, and it may have nothing to do with actual lovemaking from on the soul level, cosmic lovemaking, that is the exchange of breath into new life together that you're generating, whether it's a child or a child of a project or of a whole creative way of living, you know. So to the women who need to move on, you are a good woman. You are a kind woman. You are a fantastically devoted mother and family woman. Even if it's time to move on and the relationship has died for no fault of your own or of your partner's, it's simply the inevitable blossoming of who you both really are at this time. And to surrender to that is to trust the beauty of your design. Okay. Blessings to you. Have courage. Have courage.